before you go down to the comments and tell me how dumb I am because you're so enraged by this video's title, stop for a second and listen. I'm not gonna say that Demon Slayer is a masterpiece, nor will I say that it is without its flaws. But I will say that I mostly disagree with most of the criticism I see for it online, and that Demon Slayer actually does a lot more than people give it credit for. That being said, I'm doing this video purely from an anime perspective. I have not read the manga, and any criticism people have towards the later parts of the show I will not address. Partially because, again, I have no clue what happens, and there are still some things the anime could change around, and because the anime is where I've been encountering most of the critique. If you read the whole manga and say that the story is dumb, all the power to you. Why the fuck did you read the whole thing then? Nowadays, it seems like the more mainstream or popular a show is getting, the more of an ego boost you get for calling it mid. I hate that word. I hate it so much. You know what? People who are calling something mid are the most mid people I've ever seen. Yes. There, I said it. Anyway, at the end of the day, the only thing that matters in a story is just your own emotions towards it. So I'm not gonna say that your opinion on it is invalid or dumb. However, I will try to show you why I think Demon Slayer works amazingly from a writing perspective, why it resonates so much with me, and why, in my opinion, Demon Slayer is anything else but mid. Most of the criticism I've seen online is that the story and the characters are flat, simple, boring, it uses all the overused tropes, the characters are just plot devices, it's not deep enough, whatever. It's just a show like any other that happens to be well animated. I lately stumbled upon an older video from a YouTuber named Schnee or Schnee, I don't know, in which he used an interesting analogy to highlight the strengths of a simple black and white kind of story and a more morally grayish story. And I'm going to use it here as well because I think it works great with Demon Slayer. He compared the two writing styles to lasers. You can layer the lasers on top of each other, point them in different directions, arrange them in so many possible ways that it can create a very complex and impressive visual spectacle. Or you can point them all in one direction and create a giant fucking Death Star that destroys planets. In other words, you can make a story very layered, morally complex, have various different characters, themes, perspectives, ideologies, and so on. Or you can make your story and characters very simple, but convey way stronger and more focused themes and emotions than the other story can. The point here is that simplicity is not always a bad thing. Demon Slayer's characters are very simple in nature and follow a lot of tropes. You have the moral hero character, you have the coward but secretly strong one, the fight me, I wanna be the best one, the passionate upfront one, the big bad evil, the I get all the bitches and you don't one, you get my point. However, Demon Slayer takes these simple tropes and themes and pushes it to 200%. Take Rengoku for example. Yes, he is that virtuous, wholesome, passionate guy he seems to be. The smile is no facade. There is no more depth or moral gray spot to it. It's just that. But you love the guy, because he lives these traits to the absolute fullest. If he says the food is delicious, everyone has to know that it's delicious and he's enjoying every bite of it as if it were his last. If he says he does not back down, he will not back down. If he says he's going to save every single person on this goddamn train, then he fucking is. And man, is he good at it. And he does it all wholeheartedly with a determined smile on his face to the very end. Because he knows he lived through every present moment with his heart ablaze. Which is just so damn inspiring. Set your heart ablaze is such a beautiful, inspiring quote. And we see it in every single one of Rengoku's actions. Tanjiro is that moral hero type main character who has his talk no jutsu with every villain, but we know that he does that because his sister is a demon, so he can empathize with them. Since he sees the humanity in his sister, he also knows it's somewhere in the other demons. And I think this morality is something no other main character does better than Tanjiro, because it's all he does. Again, he does one thing and does it 200%. We see how it impacts different characters as well. It makes Zenitsu have faith in himself, even just a little bit. It makes Inosuke stop in his tracks and not go beat everyone up because he just can't seem to get through Tanjiro's wholesomeness. And I think this makes for a great main character, because if not for his impact on the other guys of the main trio, they would have no growth whatsoever. In a sense, he completes them with his morality. And it even makes the demons question their lives in their last moments, even if they die afterwards. Which is also a strong point in my opinion. A lot of morally hero type main characters like Naruto or Deku very rarely finish off their opponents because they're so good and just and blah blah blah. Tanjiro just beats their ass anyway, because they're demons and they've done some very horrible things. And that brings me to my next point. The sponsor of today's video! The demons. One thing I saw was that the demons are all just underlings of Muzan and don't have their own motives, interests and so on. They're just bad because it's cool to be bad, I guess. It ultimately all leads to Muzan, although I don't think that's even the case with all of them, and I will come back to that later. Even if they were all that simple, it's not the point to make them any more interesting. The point is to show that they are despicable human-eating creatures but still have some humanity left in them. To show how much more powerful they are than humans, and yes, especially to show how scary Muzan is. The Upper Moons are not this Akatsuki type group that has a bunch of different types of characters who have all these different motives and ideologies, and that is not their purpose. They don't work together. They hate each other, rival each other, and they are all collectively afraid of Muzan. In that sense, they may indeed feel like plot devices since, in a way, they are just devices and tools for Muzan to achieve his goal. The introduction of the Upper Moons in Season 3 is one of the most suspenseful introductions I've ever witnessed in anime. It captures Muzan's all-powerful and scary aura so vividly, which is all his character is supposed to be. His point is to be that simple, big bad evil that we are supposed to be scared of, that we are supposed to hate. And it just fucking works. To make such a simple big bad evil impose such a great presence, it takes almost or as deep or complex of an understanding of evil as it does making a villain that is more morally grey and layered. And the animation helps elevating this so much. I'm sure you have all seen this point coming, and I'm sure people who don't like Demon Slayer are as sick of hearing it as I am sick of hearing the word mid. But the animation of Demon Slayer is on another level. I already hear people saying to themselves, "Oh, but good animation doesn't make a bad plot better." Oh, but it does. See, earlier I talked about the laser analogy. I'm actually gonna use it here again. Think about the most insane laser show you can ever imagine. You have the most incredible visuals playing and working together and great music to accompany that. This laser show can probably touch people's hearts, and it has no story and no dialogue whatsoever. Or for a more simple example, take a black and white picture of a sunrise and compare it to a video in color of a sunrise. Which of the two invokes more emotions in you? If you set the black and white picture, then pick the other one. And in a similar way, can an incredible visual showcase of a simple story make it even more emotionally resonating with people? Every scene in Demon Slayer is so beautifully and intensely crafted that you cannot help but feel hype and joy in every single fight scene. You cannot help but feel scared and tense when Muzan holds the head of a demon in his hand he severed hundreds of meters away in the course of one shot to the next. You cannot help but feel happy when Tanjiro cries of relief because his sister survives a fatal battle. But it's not just the visuals. The laser show has music, and so does Demon Slayer. And to anyone who says Demon Slayer's music is mid, you're lying. You're lying to yourself. Admit it. Because this music is just purely amazing. It's hype, it's intense, it's happy, it's sad, it's beautiful. Nezuko's theme encapsulates the feeling of home and family so beautifully. Rengoku's theme portrays his burning, inspiring passion so wonderfully. Tanjiro's theme in episode 19 of season 1 is the culmination of everything leading up to that moment. You cannot tell me that the music doesn't elevate this anime. The voice acting is also great in my opinion, and I think that is especially true in the comedy of the show. One thing I saw was that Demon Slayer's comedy is awkward and annoying, but I actually think that Demon Slayer is quite funny, due to the great voice acting. I just cannot help but laugh when Zenitsu screams his lungs out, as annoying as this character trait of him might be otherwise. And I cannot help but giggle when Inosuke giggles or rams his head on a random tree in the background. but that's just my dumb humor, I guess. The last things, and probably the biggest I want to address, is the female representation and the seemingly random ass-pull power-ups the two main characters seem to get every time. First, the female representation. Mitsuri is an amazing character who spits in the face of today's Hollywood perception of strong female characters, since she is naturally gifted and strong, but still has emotional struggles and has a happy, kind and positive attitude despite her struggles, and is not arrogant or unlikable. Shinobu and the other female demon slayers didn't receive any screen time essentially, so how could they be interesting or developed? I mean, no one complains about Gyu being an uninteresting character, so where's the difference? I'm gonna touch on Daki in a little bit, because I actually think she's also a very well written character, and I could say a lot more about this topic, but this video is already long enough, so let's just leave it at that and talk about the character that is probably the most polarizing. Nezuko. Nezuko is just a plot device and has no impact or character development at all besides saving Tanjiro in dire situations, is what most people are saying. However, she once again doesn't need to be this complex character. She's there to serve as an extremely understandable and emotionally resonating goal for Tanjiro, namely to save his sister, which is actually a lot more interesting than just wanting to be the #1 hero or something like that. And more importantly, she's there to show us how strong the family bond between her and Tanjiro really is, and to prove it to the other characters. As I said before, Tanjiro sees the humanity in his sister and is therefore greatly important to the world of Demon Slayer, because he is the only one who is able to see the humanity in demons, and Nezuko helps him prove that. He fights for his family, and that's why his sister is even alive in the first place. So it is okay if she pulls out a new power in a dire situation to save Tanjiro, since it is the result of all of his love and the result of the bond they share together. Tanjiro's goal is not becoming the Hokage or becoming the #1 hero or catch all Pokemon or whatever. It is to save and protect the one member of his family that he has left. His goal is not to become the strongest. Strength is just a necessary thing he needs to save his sister, so naturally the focus of the show is not particularly on him growing and achieving power. The whole theme of Demon Slayer is that of family bonds. And if the show can portray this centered theme so well through Tanjiro and Nezuko having these random ass power-ups, then I think it does its job just perfectly. Moreover, it's this family theme where I think 2 or rather 3 demons really shine as villains. Rui and Daki and Kyutaro. These demons serve so well as opposites of the 2 main characters, and a great example on how this theme of family in the show affects demons as well. Rui served as a very good example of an extremely unhealthy family relationship. That's why the moment in episode 19 was so powerful. Because Tanjiro and Nezuko could show him with their power they got in that moment what a real healthy family bond is able to achieve. Daki and Gyutaro were a great portrayal of a healthy family relationship, which made them, in my opinion, extremely interesting characters, since they showed us and Tanjiro that these demons who are doing all these horrible things, and in the case of Rui, have failed before to understand the concept of family, they can indeed have exactly the same bond. They even have to be killed at the same time because their family bond is just that strong. They are, in a sense, just what Nezuko and Tanjiro could have ended up like if Tanjiro had become a demon as well. So as I said before, I do not think that all demons are just hype material for Muzan. Especially with these 2 examples, they make for great antagonists that are perfectly capturing the theme of Demon Slayer. I know I made a lot of points in this video and didn't go into crazy depth with each of them, but I wanted to give a general perspective on why I disagree with the critique, and I wanted to address as much of it as possible while still keeping the video short and entertaining. If you want to look at more in-depth analysis of what makes the show great, there are plenty of good videos on YouTube. But don't leave without leaving a like and subscribe on this channel, please. So, I guess the main point here is Demon Slayer is indeed filled with all these tropes, and its story and characters are sometimes very simple in nature. But with a little help from the animation and audio design, it portrays these tropes and uses its simplicity to elevate its themes to 100, and is able to make you feel emotions in a way you would not be able to feel in a more deep or complex story. So yeah, Look guys, all I'm trying to say is Demon Slayer is not just a work of art, but also a great emotionally intense story with great characters. And I'm not ashamed to say that I love this show so much. But this video? Kinda mid, huh?